In the small, picturesque town of Willow Creek, Thanksgiving was a time of joy and togetherness, a tradition held dear for generations. The air was crisp and the streets were adorned with autumn leaves, creating a tapestry of red, orange, and yellow. The centerpiece of the town's celebration was the annual Thanksgiving feast at the community hall, an event that brought together families and friends to share in gratitude and good food. This year, however, a sense of unease lingered over Willow Creek. Just weeks before Thanksgiving, strange occurrences had begun to unsettle the townsfolk. Pets had gone missing, bizarre noises were heard at night, and an unexplainable chill seemed to seep into the houses. Despite these ominous signs, the town's elders insisted the feast go on, attributing the happenings to the wild imaginations of children and the usual pre-holiday jitters. Among the residents was Emily, a young journalist who had recently moved to Willow Creek for its tranquility and old-world charm. Emily was intrigued by the town's history and the peculiar happenings leading up to the feast. She decided to document the event, hoping to uncover the truth behind the unsettling occurrences. Thanksgiving Day arrived, and the community hall was abuzz with excitement. Families gathered, bringing with them dishes passed down through generations. The hall was filled with the aromas of roasted turkey, pumpkin pie, and other traditional delights. Emily, camera in hand, moved through the crowd, capturing the joy and warmth of the celebration. As the evening progressed, the mayor stood up to give his annual Thanksgiving speech. Just as he began, the lights in the hall flickered and went out, plunging the room into darkness. A collective gasp rose from the crowd, followed by nervous laughter as people assumed it was a mere power outage, but Emily felt a chill run down her spine. This was no ordinary blackout. When the lights returned, a sense of dread filled the air. The once vibrant hall now felt cold and unwelcoming. People whispered anxiously among themselves, and Emily noticed that several guests seemed disoriented. Their eyes glazed over, as if in a trance. Determined to uncover what was happening, Emily slipped away from the crowd and explored the darkened corridors of the hall. As she ventured deeper, the air grew colder, and the festive sounds from the banquet hall faded into eerie silence. She stumbled upon a hidden door, slightly ajar, leading to the basement. Descending the creaky stairs, Emily found herself in a dimly lit room, filled with old town records and artifacts. Her eyes were drawn to a dusty tome titled The History of Willow Creek. As she leafed through the pages, a chilling tale unfolded. Centuries ago, Willow Creek had been the site of a tragic event. A group of settlers, desperate for a bountiful harvest, had made a pact with a mysterious entity. In exchange for their prosperity, they promised to offer a sacrifice every 50 years. The town had prospered since, but at a terrible cost. The current year marked the 50th anniversary of the last sacrifice. Horrified by the revelation, Emily realized that the strange occurrences and the trance-like state of some guests were connected to the dark pact. She rushed back to the banquet hall, determined to warn everyone. As she entered the hall, the scene before her was one of chaos. The guests who had appeared disoriented were now behaving erratically, their faces twisted in grotesque expressions. The mayor, his eyes glowing an unnatural hue, proclaimed that the time had come to honor the town's age-old agreement. Emily, heart pounding with fear, knew she had to act fast. She grabbed the microphone and revealed the town's dark secret to the crowd. Panic ensued as people tried to flee, but the doors were mysteriously locked. The possessed townsfolk, under the control of the mayor, moved towards the others, their intentions clear. In the midst of the pandemonium, Emily remembered an old legend about a talisman that could break curses, said to be hidden within the community hall. With no time to lose, she and a group of brave townsfolk searched the hall. They found the talisman hidden behind a false wall in the basement, just as the possessed began to descend upon them. With the talisman in hand, Emily recited the incantation from the ancient tome. A blinding light filled the hall, and a deafening roar echoed through the room. The possessed townsfolk collapsed, and when they awoke, they were free from the entity's control. The dark cloud that had loomed over Willow Creek lifted, and the doors of the hall swung open. In the aftermath, the town grappled with the revelation of its past. The Thanksgiving feast had turned into a night of terror, but it also brought an end to the curse that had plagued Willow Creek for centuries. The townsfolk, now aware of the truth, vowed to remember the events as a cautionary tale of greed and the dangers of forgotten history. Emily's documentation of the night's events made national headlines, shedding light on the small town's dark secret. She remained in Willow Creek, committed to uncovering more of its hidden stories and ensuring that the truth was never again lost to time. And so, Thanksgiving in Willow Creek was never the same. It became a day not only of gratitude but also of remembrance and vigilance, a reminder of the night when the town faced its demons and emerged stronger, united by the bond of survival and the courage to confront the darkness within. In another place, the wind howled through the skeletal branches of the ancient trees, creating an eerie symphony that echoed through the desolate woods. The moon hung low in the ink-black sky, casting an otherworldly glow over the landscape. It was Thanksgiving night, and the Hollister family had decided to celebrate the holiday in their secluded cabin, nestled deep within the heart of the forest. As the Hollisters sat around the wooden table, adorned with a feast fit for a king, unease hung in the air. The crackling fire in the stone hearth did little to dispel the chill that seemed to permeate the room. A sense of foreboding lingered, like a shadow that danced just beyond the flickering candlelight. The family consisted of John, the patriarch with graying hair and a stern countenance, Mary, his wife, whose eyes betrayed a weariness that went beyond the physical, and their two children, Emily and Thomas, who wore forced smiles that failed to reach their eyes. The tension among them was palpable, an unspoken awareness of something sinister lurking in the shadows. As the family began to partake in the Thanksgiving feast, the taste of the food seemed to lose its flavor, each bite more tasteless than the last. The once joyous occasion felt like a macabre ritual, a descent into darkness that none of them could escape. It was Emily who first heard the distant whispers, barely audible over the howling wind. At first, she dismissed them as figments of her imagination, the product of a troubled mind succumbing to the eerie atmosphere of the cabin. However, as the whispers grew louder, they took on a haunting melody that wormed its way into her subconscious. "Emily, do you hear that?" Thomas asked, his voice barely above a whisper. She nodded, her eyes wide with fear. The family fell silent, their ears straining to decipher the cryptic messages carried by the wind. The whispers seemed to beckon them into the darkness, promising secrets that should remain buried. Suddenly, the fire in the hearth extinguished with a sharp hiss, plunging the cabin into an impenetrable darkness. Panic set in as the family fumbled for candles, their hands shaking as they desperately sought a source of light. The whispers grew more insistent, their haunting cadence echoing through the cabin like a chorus of the damned. In the feeble glow of the candles, the family huddled together, their faces pale with terror. The air thickened with an oppressive force, as if the very atmosphere itself harbored malevolent intent. Unseen eyes seemed to watch them from the shadows, their presence sending shivers down the spines of the Hollisters. A low, guttural growl reverberated through the cabin, causing the family to recoil in horror. The source of the sound remained elusive, a spectral force that defied explanation. Fear clung to the air like a suffocating fog, each breath heavy with the weight of impending doom. With trepidation, John approached the window, peering into the impenetrable darkness outside. His breath caught in his throat as he beheld a figure standing just beyond the threshold of the cabin, a figure cloaked in shadows, its eyes glowing like twin orbs of malevolence. "Who's there?" John called out, his voice trembling. The figure remained silent, a sinister silhouette against the inky blackness. As John took a step closer, the figure seemed to dissipate like smoke, leaving only the echoes of its haunting presence. The family exchanged terrified glances, their minds unable to comprehend the supernatural forces that encircled them. Determined to unravel the mystery, John ventured outside, his footsteps muffled by the fallen leaves that carpeted the forest floor. The moon cast an eerie glow, illuminating the twisted branches that reached out like skeletal fingers. The whispers grew louder, guiding John deeper into the heart of the woods. As he walked, the trees seemed to close in around him, their gnarled limbs twisting and contorting in unnatural ways. The air itself seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy, as if the very essence of the forest had been tainted by an ancient evil. John's heart pounded in his chest as he stumbled upon a clearing, the moonlight revealing a grotesque tableau. In the center of the clearing, a spectral feast lay spread out on a long wooden table, the remnants of a long-forgotten Thanksgiving celebration frozen in time. The chairs were occupied by ghostly figures, their faces twisted in eternal agony. The whispers that had haunted the cabin now crescendoed into a cacophony of anguished souls, trapped in the limbo between life and death. A voice, guttural and otherworldly, cut through the din. "Welcome, John Hollister, to the Feast of the Forsaken." John's blood ran cold as he turned to face the source of the voice. Before him stood a figure draped in tattered robes, its face obscured by shadows. The air thickened with an oppressive force as the figure continued to speak, its voice resonating with a chilling authority. "For generations, we have feasted on the souls of those who dare to celebrate Thanksgiving in this accursed place. The Feast of the Forsaken is eternal, a ritual that binds the living to the spirits of the dead." The truth dawned on John with horrifying clarity. The cabin, the whispers, the spectral feast. They were all part of a malevolent tradition that ensnared unsuspecting souls. The Hollisters had become unwitting participants in a nightmarish ritual that transcended the boundaries between the living and the dead. Back in the cabin, Mary clutched her children close as the whispers reached a deafening crescendo. The walls themselves seemed to groan under the weight of the supernatural forces that pressed in from all sides. In a desperate bid to escape, they stumbled out into the night, guided by the ethereal glow emanating from the clearing. The Feast of the Forsaken awaited them, its ghostly attendees frozen in perpetual torment. The air crackled with dark energy as the Hollisters found themselves ensnared in the grip of an ancient curse. The spectral figure turned its attention to them, its eyes gleaming with hunger as it beckoned them to join the macabre banquet. As the family approached the table, their surroundings warped and twisted, the fabric of reality unraveling before their eyes. The whispers morphed into anguished wails, merging with the mournful cries of the forsaken souls that permeated the night. The figure raised its arms, and the Feast of the Forsaken unfolded around them. The spectral attendees reached out with skeletal hands, their eyes devoid of humanity. The air itself seemed to pulse with malevolent energy as the Hollisters became one with the haunted tableau. The wind carried their anguished cries through the desolate woods, a chilling reminder of a Thanksgiving celebration that had descended into madness. The Feast of the Forsaken continued, an eternal ritual that claimed the souls of those who dared to venture into the heart of the haunted forest. And so, the Hollister family joined the ranks of the Forsaken, trapped in a nightmarish purgatory where the echoes of their tormented screams lingered for all eternity. The Feast of the Forsaken persisted, a haunting reminder that some traditions were better left undisturbed, lost to the annals of time.